Fuck the dollar. What's up? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We're rocking and rolling. Like our normal Sunday stock talk videos, we are going to break down just the overall markets and then go over their expected moves. We're going to kick it off with the dollar. Because I'm short the US dollar right now, we will go over the US dollar, Japanese yen. We typically touch on Bitcoin. Then we got the S&P, the NASDAQ. We're kind of just breezing through the Russell. The Russell will eventually could have its day. But we'll touch on that. But then we're gonna go over the Magnificent Seven. We'll go over that and their expected moves for the weeks. I'm kind of thinking we pull back this week, but we'll see. All right, right now, as far as the open goes, a little bit up, a little bit of a green candle. Tomorrow is a holiday, so we'll have to see. Banks are closed. Stock market is not. Right now, it's kind of in that little speed bump zone. I know there's a lot of boxes right now. More importantly, didn't want it to go above this weekly zone. If we take the weekly zones off, we're kind of right here at this zone. Now, if it breaks above this, I got to get out of my short position, right? So that's ultimately what I'm watching right here. I want that to break, melt, the U.S. dollar to be worthless, and the Japanese yen could just be the new global currency. That would be amazing. Just got back from Traders for a Cause. Nice. Never been. What do they do? Where's it at? Sounds fun. Sounds interesting. Intriguing. Bitcoin doing a whole lot of a whole lot of nothing. Just sideways. I know I get a million alerts about this when it's above 64,000, and then I got a whole bunch the other day. It's below 63, below 61, below 60. It dipped down into the 50s the other day. Almost like the weather starting to cool off. It's going to be amazing. I don't know. Overall, nothing. Some people are talking about this was the low. Now we're putting in some higher lows, and certainly we are. We are also still very much. An argument could be made like this is your next lower high compared to these. We'll see. Some people are calling that. I mean, if this is the low and here's your high, you're looking for a higher low and then a higher high, and like that's your trend reversal, which we have the makings of. But if you just look at the just bird's eye view, right now, flat, whole lot of nothing. Nothing actionable at least, right? Maybe you're a super scalper in here and you want to pay a bunch of fees and donate a lot to slippage. That's about what that's going to equate to. I know a lot of people are talking about a giant bull flag. I'm one of them. Hopefully that does pan out, but we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. But again, right now, a whole lot of nothing. The turnaround on the dollar yen has been annoying. It really has. The more annoying part is calling it out, saying it's probably going to happen here, and then watching it happen. It's like literally saying, "Hey, this person's going to stab me," and I just stand there with my arms in my pockets and just get cut. That's what it feels like. All right, as far as the S&P goes, this is the futures. This is what drives order flow into the ETFs, the popular ones like SPY or VOO. So because this is what drives order flow, this is the one I watch. Right now, as far as the open goes, we have a little bit up and down. Now, they've been open for almost 2 hours. So we opened up here, pushed up, made it to this high, pulling back. So far, all we're looking at, so as far as the open Sunday, we have this green and this red candle right here. Hourly, kind of hard not to call that a bull flag. We're in a bull market, and we're just kind of at all-time highs every day. I told you guys last Sunday I was going to actually go directional and buy some puts. I did. I did not, however, do that in the growth account. Just didn't get this. I thought that would be cheaper as far as risk reward, capital allocation. A lot of that went into play. Just couldn't make it a thing yet. You think it's a bull flag, Cody? At this point, why wouldn't it be? Bull market, all-time highs. This is just kind of the name of the game, right? I did grab, was it November? Yeah, second week of November. And those are, again, risk and capital. So if you hear me talk about those, I I don't know if they would actually be a home run, because if we even get a leg down, something similar to this, those puts will be up. I'll trail them. I'll lock in profits, and that'll be it. So if something like this happens, let's say we go down, we up, and then we're just down 20%. Stock market absolutely crashes. You're going to hear me talk about how I made money on this move. Probably didn't really execute or do it again here, and then it melted down, and that's going to suck. But that's where I'm at. I gave it time. I wanted to go after the elections. And again, it really is just for a pullback. So future reference, if you hear me talking about that play, that's what it'll be. If we just continue to grind up and never turn back, then do you want me to make a video about what happens when you buy puts and the stock market continues to go up? If I need to make a video that simple, I really can, but I'll give you the TLDR right now. They went to zero, right? Lost. There's no magic way around it. And I had some great conversations this weekend with actually a couple other traders. And I asked one, and I want him to come on the channel because that's exactly what I do. Different tickers. He thought NVIDIA was a little bit more on the dicey side, very much an option seller. And the first thing I said was, have you ever taught anybody, and how did that pan out? He says, I've tried, but they just and like what we've talked about before on the channel a whole bunch, they're just really comfortable holding red. You know, people just love to hold on to their losers, and then when one thing is finally green, it's, I gotta take my money and run. You know, like what your friend tells you at the casino who lost all their money but is like watching you play your last hand of blackjack. Dude, you're up. Take your money and run. In that case, you bag hold your losers and you cut your winners. But it was the exact. I just wanted to have him on here, and I don't know. I'm going to talk him into it, but it was just funny how he had the exact same experience that I've tried to teach a few people. They just don't get the psychology behind it. He did give me some homework. I am going to review it later. Reminiscence of a Stock Trader. It is a book. He says that'll teach you what it feels like to lose and make $1 million in the stock market. He said that's a good one to have people read. So I'm going to read it. We might talk about that in a future video. So if anyone has read it, I'd like it. Tell me about it. Closed tomorrow, right? No, stock market is open tomorrow. Banks are closed tomorrow. Anyway, aside from that rant, there's no such thing as managing a red trade. Period. Right? There's managing green ones to get as much as you can out of a winning trade, and then the red ones are a lost cause. Move on. Peace out. Or they drain you. Is ES up or down this week? Seems too bullish to stop. It does, and I don't want to talk about like RSI or anything like that. I kind of think we're a little bit up. I hate to say overbought. The second I say overbought, someone's going to look at an indicator and think, well, that's not. And we can look at RSI is not overbought, so clearly we're not. I kind of feel like we are. I don't know what the catalyst would be, and there would likely need to be an excuse of some kind to really pull us back. Could just be general profit taking. Let's pull up a. Well, let's see if we have any news this week. Any letters? Any excuses? Let me get it. All right, so Monday, tomorrow, nothing. Got a bunch of Feds talking. More Feds on Tuesday. I don't think manufacturing index is going to move anything. We have Mom coming on Wednesday. Import prices from Mom. All right, Thursday, a bunch of retail sales, jobless claims. They could probably make a case out of jobless claims, but from the previous reports, I don't know if that's not going to be a rug pull event. Oil report, probably nothing. So I don't think we have anything this week. Nothing that a typical YouTuber is probably going to talk about moving the market. And I don't know if any of these are even really. I'd have to be really leveraged in futures to probably worry about these. So I don't know. I don't know what the excuse would be, and maybe I'm in puts for nothing. I kind of feel like, again, we're still a little overbought. I struggle talking about this because there is, again, we talk about a lot, that gambler's fallacy, going up to the roulette table and seeing black the last 7 times, so you put your money on red. Absolutely no logic to it. And that's kind of what I'm doing. Now, I have a bunch of bullish positions. Overall deltas, I am long. But I did grab puts to play the pullback. Banks killed earnings last week. I see more good earnings this week. Hopefully. For anybody that does have my charts, expected moves are already done. So let me take that back off. All right. So when you see these white dashed lines, that is the expected move for the week. That is what market makers have their risk priced in at. It just, again, one standard deviation. Two standard deviations would be this exact amount. Just, again, 95% chance we stay inside that, which is why I pay attention to these levels, because when we get outside of them, then let's say we break this thing down, we break one standard deviation, I'm selling put spreads. Again, we break above this, get to that 1.5 mark is a sweet spot for me. I'm selling 2 standard deviation call spreads. That's almost a play I take every time it does. It doesn't happen all the time, but every time that does happen, it's a very easy play. The market is like most of the people in this group. They would rather roll something 6 weeks than lose shares. And no way they're ever selling. Never. SPX to 6,500. Somebody got really offended by that. They said 6,200 by the end of the month. I don't know if that was last month or this month. But that would be pretty impressive. You thinking 6,500 probably end of year price? Do I think Tesla will bounce? We are going to get into that. Tesla. So as I'm breaking this down, I'm going to do the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Russell, and then I'm going to do the Magnificent 7-ish. Tesla will be the last one for that very specific reason. I'm going to go a little bit more into that. All right, but let's move on. As far as the NASDAQ goes, playing the back and forth game right here, really just jacking around. You can look at these zones, but if you didn't even have those, just look at this wick right here. Your buyers are right here. Your sellers are right here. As soon as all of those are exhausted, we're going to make the next move up, which will end up being probably this yellow zone or this yellow one down here. For any scalpers, I'd have my alerts. I would have stop sells right here or stop buys right here. So when we break above, you're good there. It might not even be a bad play at all. Other than that, man, it's you almost have to be in futures to take advantage of this chop, or be an option seller and let Theta just pay you every day because it just went nowhere. 10% move up on the S&P puts us at 6,400, 2 to 3% a week. It just sounds so crazy. I guess not really crazy. It just sounds up there a lot. Steve was thinking 6,200 by end of year. No, someone was thinking 6,200 by the end of month. I'm not paying to roll ever. I would never pay to roll a position. No, I would let the shares go at that point. Okay, QQQ. Man, why would this one looks like as far as the NASDAQ goes? This is why we're going to talk about Tesla last. That looks more like a breakout up. As of right now, I'd have to put my chips in that corner. I'd have to go bullish. Without a negative catalyst, though, we just grind. Yeah, I hear you, and that's kind of why I have the tone I do right now. Is I think we're a little bit overbought, but what evidence do I have to support that we are going to pull back? And I can't even say I told you guys so. Like, let's say we sell off this week and I'm right and I make a bunch of money on my puts. I can't even come back and say, told you guys so. This is what I saw. So it does make it tough. And I certainly wouldn't be, this video this week should probably just be more a conversation of leverage. This probably just isn't the time to be just bleeding leverage out of the pores, and let's say you got a 50 grand account. 150 grand in buying power or 100 grand. So sometimes they give you 2, whatever. Then the time to be 100 grand in, this is the time to probably just have your positions in cash. Not a cash position, but, again, pay off the leverage, pay off the margin, and just enjoy the game. Just enjoy the breeze while we are grinding up. You go get nuts now, or let all time highs every day. Let that FOMO you into a position you can't handle. That's how you get wrecked. The reason why I never just get absolutely destroyed is because, like I said all the time, you can't lose your butt if you don't put it on the line in the first place. There's no need to ever be that way. If your account is not big enough to get the gains you guys see everyone else doing, you can chase it and probably lose, or you can just do more, which is either be patient, you'll get there, or go do some side jobs. Let it motivate you to gamble your time on a business opportunity that might blow up, not your position. Steve says it's a valuable read. Reminiscence of a Stock Operator by Edwin. It's a story about Jesse Livermore. I'm going to read it. So I don't know. This isn't going to be a book review club. I tried reading books because everyone used to ask me, what books do I recommend? And I just haven't found any good ones because it was like people just scripting out like a YouTube video. They were just saying extra things to put words on paper to make the book thicker. So far I haven't found any, but I'm pretty pumped about the ones he told me to read. All right, as far as the Russell absolutely sending it. No surprise with financials doing well. Financials being one of the biggest things in the Russell. And we talked about this last week about even buying XLF, that it did look like a breakout up. So shout out to everybody who followed that play, and you're up. If you specifically bought XLF for that, I would put your stop at 46.35. It's probably going to tag out, but you can buy the dip later. I think putting it anywhere else, it's going to tag out a little bit later, and then you're not going to get the best dip buy. Reading is overrated. Right one. If I wrote a book, it'd be about as long as a pamphlet and nobody would understand it. It'd be about 4 words, and I'm like, yeah, you didn't get it from my book? I literally told you all about this. All right. Anyway, I would expect financials to continue, but let's rock and roll. Tesla will be last. Meta rocking and rolling. Meta is just sideways. We have these red lines right here. Was that the hourly? Okay, so we have a 4-hour candle down. 1 4-hour session. And then right inside there, everything inside. So a break and close is likely going to be your signal as to where we're headed. Expected move puts it at just shy of 610 and 570. If it got to 570 for now, that would be a dip buy. That's where I would consider going long calls, or maybe sell some 560 puts if you wanted to own some more Meta. Anytime I talk about owning puts, the one thing I don't do is roll my puts. If I sell puts and it goes down, there's about a 9. I may have done it once or twice. I can't recall in my head. 99% chance I'm just going to take those shares, and we'll probably start selling calls against it. So if you can afford it and you want it, just know that every time I sell a put, I am fully prepared to accept those shares. And something you guys need to remember is some of you guys are real gung-ho about selling puts. Like, oh, I can take shares, no problem. You're not going to see me cry about this. And you're completely forgetting the fact that probably got assigned not by a penny. Like, you sold out of the money puts, and then it went for it in the money, and now you own shares. It's likely that you're already down, right? Quite a bit more. And I think that shock, if you don't really consider, or you haven't really felt it yet, you're going to the first time. That's something you really need to take into consideration. Let's say I sell some 560 puts on Meta. You know what happens for us to get there and get me assigned? We might be oversold. We might just be really on a train down. We would just really, wheels are greased. We are just flying down. It might not stop till 540. Now it's $20 a share. All right. Microsoft. Expected move puts it at this top zone, or this bottom zone right here. Okay, so these zones were actually brighter yellow just because of that horizontal pattern. I'm going to leave it there because we do have a lot of, we'll call it area of attention, up top and down bottom. Certainly, I'd be pretty excited about Microsoft if it got to that 390 mark. We would probably need a negative catalyst to get the big tech here, or maybe all of these just start selling off, and that's what drives the markets down. That'll end up being a case for the chicken or the egg. I guess right now, if I had to put gun to my head, I don't like to talk about plays like this, but I would have to go long. I have to go long and put my stop right below, be 410.85 is where my stop would be at. The expected move puts that at 406 and 427. NVIDIA, everyone's favorite. NVIDIA better chill out. Better get down here. Hopefully that NVIDIA just needs to pull back. I wouldn't have any FOMO. There's two tickers I have zero FOMO on right now, and it's Palantir and NVIDIA. So I'm hoping that chills out, pulls back. We'll continue to sell calls against our shares, but man, the last time we hit these levels, so hit up here, meltdown, hit up here, meltdown, and we got close. An argument could be made that we didn't really hit that same level yet. But it's like we're looking for the Bears. Winnie the Pooh's nowhere to be found right now, so wouldn't really be too terribly surprising to see that continue to push up. The expected move does put that up at 141 with a lower expected move of 128. Amir here says, hello, member for 44 months. Shout out to Amir. That is a long time. All right, Amazon. I'm bullish Amazon. I don't have any puts sold on it or anything like that. If I have, I would sell. I would probably sell 195 calls this week. I think you'd be fine there. But as long as we stayed above this 185 zone, I would probably just continue to be bullish this. I thought that was a dip buyback here. Still in the market because of you, Don. Thanks. I appreciate that. Thank you. Especially when I tell everybody, if you don't do this, you probably won't be here next year. And here you are, 44 months later. Did we go over the expected move just in case? 195, 184 for Amazon. Apple. Does anybody trade Apple? I could almost delete Apple and never look at it again and be just fine. I still have my Apple shares, but that's it. This particular one, it's a tricky one. I get its popularity. This is probably one you would just consider buying and holding, maybe selling calls against it. Selling calls against it kind of sucks. Doesn't really pay much for the capital you're going to have out there and what you're going to take off of selling those calls for as an income play. It just doesn't pay that much. It's not a big surpriser. And when Apple does surprise, well, it can run for it. But this is very, very much a boring ticker, I guess, as it should be. But, it kind of looks very. I mean, earnings brought it down. Outside of earnings that you're seeing on the screen right now, this dip, Apple's really just hanging out in between this 215, 230 range. So when do we break into here? We got June 28th to now. You've done nothing. Anyway, expected moves for this one, 233 and 222. I don't know. Let me know in the chat. Does anybody? That's one. Again, that's one I could just delete and not even worry about. SPX can't do 6,200 without a 250 Apple. I hear you. Google. Okay, so this is something I do say a lot. If you make a habit out of buying a ticker that's coming into the bottom of one of my yellow boxes, I can tell you probably won't be here next year. And that's not a cocky thing, but there's cases to be made. Maybe you think that's the higher low. Maybe my box is just a little bit off. Maybe it should have been down here. Make a habit of that. I'm talking about the next 100 trades. You're probably going to lose all of them, most of them. So on that note, I would be bullish Google. I like the way it's getting kind of like we tried to run it. It's getting held up. We have this. What news is that? Does somebody else have earnings? Or is this lawsuit news? We have this wick up and down right here. So we know there's sellers here, but buyers picked it right back up. So if you're playing the zone, take it with a grain of salt. Maybe it just got below. We're going to get back in. We're not really testing it from the bottom. I would be bullish, but this is where I would dial back my allocation. because the last thing I want to do is go extra hard on the next lower high. That's again how you can get in trouble. So if you normally want to risk $2,000 in a trade, this particular one probably 1,500, if not 1,000. That was the breaking up Google news. Okay, I wonder if they just didn't pay Pelosi enough, or what. There's a lot of this news that comes out like this, and typically, and if you've watched me before, I talk about this a lot. Anytime there's monopoly news that comes out, I buy it. I buy it up a lot because it always gets dropped. The case doesn't get anywhere, and it's like a politician trying to remind the person at Google or Meta who really runs the show. Then they get a check. Pelosi gets another 750 grand for making a speech. Whether she showed up to it or not. And then all of a sudden the charges get dropped. So no longer a case. It's not a monopoly after all. And then it just moves on. So I do buy those, but that's kind of like a knife catch. Maybe one day it'll stick. Maybe one day it'll have to be something different. But for now, is there a weekly zone on Google? Yeah. If I'm on the weekly time frame, I'd be watching out for this right here. So I guess we might have just hit that and sold off. Either way, final answer, bullish. Here's something you guys can understand. Inverse head and shoulders. There we go. Now, before that pans out and you think, man, that Don guy really called it out, just remember, those usually fail every time. There was only 1 year, a study was done. I know I've said this a million times before. There was a study done on all the patterns, the shapes, and all that. Head and shoulders was the best one because 1 year it made it to the 50-50 mark. All the other years, 30% and below. All the other indicators, you were lucky to see 20%. It was crazy. Big tech runs this country, and the politicians know it. Yeah, but they know how to squeeze them as well. All right, so let's talk about Tesla. Okay, so talking about Tesla really sold off last week. And kind of like we talked about prior, why I wanted to go short because buy the rumor, sell the news. There's never been just one Tesla event that hasn't been like this. I did think it was a bit aggressive at which how it sold off, but either way, right? That's in the past. That's what happened. So Tesla's expected move right now puts the bottom level at 196.51. So if the markets do pull back, Tesla's probably going to see that lower end. So Tesla's already in a trend down. Now maybe this is there's going to be a gap fill. I'm sure gap fill traders look at the expected move. Literally puts it at the upper edge of the expected move. Again, we're market makers pricing in their risk by options data. Everybody who has their bets placed. Market makers are at a neutral delta. It is not you versus the market makers. Whoever told you that knows nothing about the markets. It's you, and there's institutional participation. And then there's the market makers that are of neutral delta. They're at a neutral delta right now, and they are stayed right inside this level. When we get outside that level, then someone's got to go to the desk, start either reining it back in or delta hedging. And so right now, it looks like a bunch of the options activity might even be playing a gap fill. But for now, looking at the overall S&P or NASDAQ as a market indicator and gauging buyer's confidence or seller's confidence. Yeah, when the S&P is green or the NASDAQ's green, it will be likely because the Magnificent Seven, the 5 or 6 tickers that actually move the market, could be holding it up. But just it's kind of like Bitcoin. A rising tide can raise all ships in a kind of way. Just that confidence will be there, and the buy the dip crowd might show up and buy Tesla as well. And if you're bearish, I've seen so many bearish Elon comments ever. Someone even said in the comments they vowed to never buy a Tesla because he went MAGA. And then I literally couldn't imagine buying a car based on a political view, especially if it's someone you driving. I don't know if you've ever jumped out of a moving car at 75 miles an hour or been in a car accident. I would much rather be in a car that the CEO doesn't agree with me politically than a piece of junk that's going to fall apart. Like that to me is absolutely absurd. And I wouldn't know what to say to people like that. Can you imagine placing your And my exact reply was, "Would you rather be in a piece of crap with a Kamala sticker on it? Like that's what you'd rather be driving down the road?" GM literally had to shut their factories down because their autonomous driving did kill people, and they told you don't park in the garage because you might burn your house down. Like, nah, I'd much rather have that. Anyway, kills me that people would think that way. Um, but maybe the buy a dip crowd shows up if the market's green. If the market's red, Tesla's been known to kind of do its own thing. There's been so many times where the market's just bleeding. It is just running down, and we're looking for news of it. Did we go to war again? Is it COVID-20? Are we coming out with the next model? What's this excuse? And then Tesla's just sending it. They didn't get the memo, and they're bright green. I don't think this is going to be one of those cases. At all. I think the market's red. Tesla will continue to be red. Buy a dip crowd just might not be there. And at that point, that's when you see Tesla sub 200. Someone says Elon is unhinged, so the stock is volatile. I can see that. And that's something I've said a long time. And guys, I don't care about your political view. I really don't. I want you to do well, and I don't really care anything else other than that. If you're here, I hope you take something from me and my experience. And again, don't really care about your opinion otherwise. But Elon is Tesla's pro and con. Like sometimes, even I've said it. Like I wish you could just be quiet for a second. I just want my position to be fine and left alone. Like, can we just not try sticking a fork in the toaster right now? That'd be great. But that is part of owning that. But also, what drives in a lot of the volatility as an options seller or just an options player in general, with a decent execution. Tesla's killing it. And right now, kind of same with NVIDIA, just looking at both those are the top two right now that I'm making a lot of plays on just because of the volatility. It really does. It can pay out. Now, it is important to know that there is never, if you're talking to an options seller, if anyone's ever talking about selling options, there is no such thing, and there never will be a home run play in options selling. That's it. The home runs are for people that buy options and gamble them. Most options contracts are designed to go to zero. So if you don't kind of have an edge, you don't have a way to play it, and you're out here buying options contracts, you're probably just going to lose. You're going to end up like another 95%. You're going to be on Facebook telling everybody stock market was a scam. So you definitely want to be careful, especially with options. If you can't trade a stock, I guarantee you can't trade options. I don't care how cheap or expensive they are. Most people do it for capital. Well, they don't want to spend as much capital, the smart traders. The other people that think it's just cheaper, I'll buy that, they're typically not here. And they don't even make it a year, to be honest. They can blow it quick. Just remember, it's one contract is for 100 shares. So if you can't trade one share, you can't trade 100. If you are good at stocks, you will do probably pretty well with options. If you are bad at stocks, you are going to suck 100 times worse with options. I can't put that disclaimer out there enough. Again, one of the conversations we had was about the movie. Oh, what's it about with the GameStop, right? They're in shares. It's going up. It's going great. So they switch gears. They just kick on the nitrous and start buying call options. The lady goes to Florida, 500 grand, comes back $5 grand in debt. Like, or like credit card debt. Absolutely nuts. I cannot stand. If any of you guys ever had that story, I'd probably lose my mind. Anyway, bringing it back into Tesla. I honestly think we're going to need a pretty green market for Tesla to maybe even stop the bleeding. Right now, it's trending down, and if you're looking to buy the dip on Tesla right now, that is a knife catch. We haven't even stalled. You can wait for it to stall out first and make sure someone else is buying there. Make sure you're not the only buyer. You jump in right now, you could just get ran over. Wait for that thing to go sideways. Now, let's say it goes sideways right here. At least now you almost have that 50-50 because we got a drop base. And it's going to be a drop base drop or a drop base rally, at least with the wicks to the downside. You'll see it go sideways. It'll throw off a couple wicks, and you can say, okay, I'm going to go long. I'm going to put my stop right below here. That wick is the other buyer showing up. So when that wick breaks, the buyers aren't there or the sellers just doubled. Either way, take your pick. That scale still just moved, and that's when you'd want to get out. Let somebody else lose their money on that. Uh, for instance, also if you're going short, I would just trail this thing. There's no reason to jump off right now if you're short Tesla. And if it based out, I'd scoop my stop up nice and tight. If we get that leg down, boom, you more money, right? Um, for me right now, if Tesla gets below $200, I'm for sure a buyer of more than I already have. But it would probably take that right now for me to add on to my position, and that's where I would be. Anytime we get close to this blue trend line right here, I think that's where I'm a buyer. And if we really pull it back, you have the overall trend, right? You get a little carried away, we bring it back. Almost like when someone's looking at EMAs. You see a whole string of EMAs, they're stretched out like a slinky, just having a rough day. Just wait for the pullback. Let it close some of that up a little bit, and then be a buyer. I'm still a. It's hard to talk about Tesla because it's in my investment account. As a trader, there's plenty of trade opportunities, but still a bullish person. Tesla long term. I really think you guys are underestimating Optimus in a very big way. Um, but as far as trading in the stock goes, Optimus isn't here yet, and we have time. So there's no need to go all in and post about on Facebook how bullish you are Optimus while you're losing all your money. There still needs to be a plan. There still needs to be something. We talked about this on Don Fran's show with Mike. Elon has not given any numbers. There's nothing to put on paper. So right now you are buying hopes and dreams with a valid plan, I guess. At least we have an Optimus bot. It's not just one day we're going to make a bot. We're seeing the improvements. It hasn't come to market. It hasn't really been sold to anybody else. The humanoid robots at BMW are not Optimus. They're a different one. So until something gets put out on a piece of paper that we can gauge and put numbers to and then draw a better path, right now you're kind of stuck to retail push this thing around, institutions. We're stuck to Elon's tweets and timelines that, well, Elon's history with timelines. I do think as far as the cab goes and Optimus, I think he'll be closer to these timelines than his other predictions. But even then, I'm not surprised. 80% of bought options expire worthless. 80% of sold options expire in the green. I'm a seller, hardly ever a buyer. Yeah. Optimus was a joke. He played us. They're remote controlled. I know a lot of people keep saying that, and I want to. Can someone show me an article where someone admitted that Optimus was remote controlled? I'm indifferent regardless. I really am. I don't know if you'd want a bot out there surrounded by people malfunctioning, falling over, or something like that. Maybe it was better to have those remote controlled. It was supposed to be about the cyber cab and just kind of what the future could look like. So I'm not. I really I don't care either way if they're remote controlled or not. But I know a lot of people kept saying that. But people say a lot of dumb things all the time, especially without fact checking it or looking into it. Terry, get out of here with that nonsense. He says the dollar's trying to pump. I don't need your negativity around here. I'm short the dollar. Um, all right. Um, anyway, as far as Tesla goes, that's where I'm going to wrap things up. Let's do one more before I get out of here. I do have to get to my mentorship group. Palantir. I mentioned earlier I have zero FOMO with Palantir and NVIDIA. I even sold Palantir at 40.10 in the growth count that I post all my trades in. Don't care. I'm not going to get back in. And on Friday, I said this looks like the top for Palantir, and right now, um, so far it kind of looks like it. We've seen some sellers show up, so let's see if it goes sideways or pulls back. Um, yeah, I would not have any FOMO on this. What are my thoughts on SPY? Okay, for everyone on TikTok right now, when I go live, I go over the dollar, then the US dollar, Japanese yen, Bitcoin. Then hear this out. The S&P, SPY, the NASDAQ, QQQ, and then the Russell, IWM. So if you missed that, just go to Don Fran Trading on YouTube, and you'll even have the full widescreen, you have the full chart. And you can watch that just from the beginning. I don't miss them, and I go in order. So if you're looking for the Russell and you fast forward to QQQ, you're almost there. I stick to that order for that very reason, so it is easy to find it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna wrap it up here, and I will see you beautiful people on Wednesday. I think the new day is Wednesday. My old schedule's Tuesday. Wednesday, it's gonna be the next live one. So make sure you're doing all the fun stuff. You hit the thumbs up, the follow, all that. We'll see you then. Have a good one.